you might find you just love cheesy pickup lines, and who knew that? But it is having that distance from yourself while still having an element of yourself present. It's just a great way to kind of practice safely.
Looking for your player too? Welcome to the Date Like a Nerd podcast, where your gamer skills, dice rolls, and cosplay are your greatest dating assets. I'm Alex, and I'm a dating coach who helps shy, introverted nerds find their player two organically. I've interviewed hundreds of nerds and learned what really works. Here we skip the just be confident cliches and get real about how nerds actually meet their player two. Are you ready? Hi everyone, I'm Alex and I help shy, introverted nerds get over their fears and anxieties to find their player two. Today I bring you Charli, aka DnD Charli. Charli is a self-proclaimed D&D and psychology nerd and creator of the popular Your Brain on D&D series on TikTok and Instagram. With a background in science communication and a decade of TTRPG experience, she combines real research with lived experience as a neurodivergent player and DM to explore why D&D makes us braver, more connected, and occasionally a complete emotional wreck. Charli, thank you so much for coming.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So the reason why I wanted to bring you on the show is because every now and then I talk to people who they either feel like they lack on social skills or they don't know how to flirt, they don't know how to practice, they don't want to just grab a random person to practice and be creeps, right?
Yeah.
And
good idea, really.
Exactly. But then they're like, how do I practice, right? In a safe space. And I often throw out D&D as a safe way to practice. I know that there's D&D therapy, but for many people, it's really hard to understand. I know this is a game. I'm going to do things because it's a game and it's safe. How is it possible that by doing that in the game where nothing happens, then I can use that in real life? So just to get us kickstarted, how do TTRPGs help with social skills? How does it work in the brain?
Oof, how don't they? They help with everything. I always say that TTRPGs have completely changed my life. They have made me come into so much of who I am and discover myself through them. But yeah, in terms of what's happening in your actual brain, so some really cool stuff that I've come across is this idea of mirror neurons, which is kind of like reading articles on this is kind of part of what triggered me to start my whole TikTok, because I was like, this is really cool and I want to share it with other people. So basically we have these cells in our brain that fire off when we see somebody do an action, or even if we just think about doing it, and they're firing in the exact same way they would if you were doing it yourself. So I think the first experiments were monkeys watching somebody pick up a banana, and it was the same circuits of their brains that fired as if they were picking up a banana themselves, which is a really basic way to start with it. But yeah, that also happens in us, in humans, and it happens with emotions as well. So if we see an emotion on somebody's face or we hear it in their voice, we start to also get that emotional reaction, and the parts of our brain, so the limbic system that monitors and kind of controls our emotional state, it doesn't react differently to whether that's imagined or whether that's real. And so it's it's why you cry at sad movies and stuff like that, because you're seeing sad emotion and it makes you sad. And it's exactly the same in TTRPGs, but you're just a little bit more immersed in it, so it feels even more like it's you physically experiencing this stuff.
Are you talking about seeing the emotions in the other players or imagining them in your head about what's going on, or both?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, it's either way. It's if you're imagining that your character is feeling these certain things, your brain will start to fire up in the same ways as if you actually were, or if you're seeing those emotions around the table, it hits those kind of empathy circuits, which are the real similar thing, that your brain is reacting as if you were feeling it yourself. So yeah, it's a lot of emotion being thrown at you.
And I think that's also the issue with not going out and not socializing and just interacting through the keyboard, on Discord or in chats and stuff, because you don't get to see the other people's emotional reaction in real life, and you don't get that experience. And so when you actually go out and say, you're stuck at home, you are on Discord 24/7, but you're on the apps, and then you match with someone, go on a first date, you don't have, you're saying, the work with the mirror neurons to know what's going on.
Yeah, it's so strange, all the like micro expressions that you get in person that don't pick up as well, even if you do have cameras. But if you don't have cameras, you don't pick them up at all. But you don't even realize when you're in person that you're noticing these things, but your brain does, and just kind of like automatically adjusts and reacts in that way. So yeah, it does make a massive difference.
So we've been talking about mirror neurons and how being in person with someone else impacts like how you can respond and how you can sort of like understand social cues and let's say empathize with others. What other like skills can you gain by like using TTRPGs?
So there's so much. So depending on what you do and depending on your table, but teamworking is a massive one, and just like getting familiar with working with a group of people. And a big one that for me, like particularly stepping into the DM seat, but it works for players as well, is learning to let go a little bit and learning that you can't always be in control. And then learning to adapt when things don't go according to plan. So they're all super, super useful. I mean, I've listed all of these things in like job interviews to talk about how I've developed these skills. And so yeah, all that kind of soft skills are really, really common. And then depending on your character you play as well, there's this thing called the Proteus Effect that's been really well studied, that if you play like an online avatar or a character in a TTRPG for long enough, you start to embody some of their traits themselves. And I notice that so much when I'm playing different characters. Like right now, my character's really quite brash, but really confident in herself. And it's made me so much more confident and able to speak my mind just without me even realizing. It's just because I'm doing it in the game. And then I feel more confident that I can do that outside of the game as well. Yeah.
It's funny that you talk about confidence because you know that like everyone says, oh, women love confidence. So many of the questions that I get is like, how do I become more confident, right?
D&D.
D&D, play D&D. So like, how does that work? Like, how is it that you can play a confident character and then when you go out into the real world, you actually start feeling more confident?
Because it's like a trial basis almost. Like you get to play with these traits and play with being confident, and particularly for women, like being louder or more outspoken in a world where we've been told to be quiet and to be polite. You get to experience what it feels like to not do that and to just be yourself, essentially. And then that's rewarded and it's seen in game. And because it's a safe space, like you feel more comfortable doing it. And there's that idea of like distancing yourself. So it's your character. So if anything bad happens, it's happening to the character. But at the same time, when it goes well, like you feel that safety in it. And then that starts to translate. It's like, well, if I can do it there, I can do it elsewhere as well. And so you get to try it out in the game. And then in real life, you're like, oh, no, this kind of works. But it's largely subconscious as well. So you don't even realize that you're thinking that, but your brain's kind of going there. It's like, no, I can do this because I've done it here. So, yeah.
Well, often the counter argument, I mean, it's not scientific, right? But like the counter argument that I hear from people is, I can do it in the game because I know that there's no consequence. But in real life, if I get rejected, then all these bad things happen. Therefore, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I mean, that is a logical way of thinking about it. That does make sense. But it's more the fact that when you've done it in game, you know you're getting those skills. And it's like, it might take a while and it won't be immediately. It's like, oh, I've seen this works in game, and so now I'm going to do it outside of game. It's just, it'll be subtle. Like you'll be starting to do it in game, and then a situation will come up where maybe you wouldn't have previously been able to respond so easily, or would have tried to avoid doing something, and then you'll just do it without thinking about it. And it'll just be like small things, like maybe even just speaking up in a meeting. And you won't realize it until afterwards. And then you'll be like, oh, wait, no, I didn't used to do that before. And now I have been doing it. So yeah, it's like if it is just like my character went and spoke to this really important person, and now I'm going to do it because I know I can do it in that situation. It's like it doesn't work quite like that, but it will subtly with time. You'll start to like notice the difference.
Yeah, I can't really quote the research, but I have heard before that the brain can't really tell between reality and fiction.
Yeah.
And so if you imagine doing something, your brain's like, okay, we're doing it. Cool. Moving on. It's a thing. Right.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that like if you do something in game often enough, your brain slowly starts believing that that's the thing that you do.
Yeah.
And then you may at least have like an inkling to do it at first.
Yeah,
and
that's
then you might give
right.
it a shot.
Yeah, that is exactly right. And it's why like manifestation has become so popular as like as an idea or concept, or like affirmations, because if you repeat something enough and you say it, it's like your brain starts to believe it and starts to look for patterns that prove it. So yeah, it's like there's a lot of complicated stuff going on with the brain. So something I've been called out a few times on when I've said this in my videos is saying like your brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's fact. It's like parts of your brain do, like logically
Sure.
This is fiction. It's like, but the emotional side of your brain is still reacting in the same way. So it's like it both does and doesn't at the same time. And it's like the parts of your brain that are going to help you develop that they don't know that. Just because you've done it in this game doesn't mean that you can't do it elsewhere. You're still doing it to them.
Yeah. When you were talking about the brain looking for patterns, I often clash with lots of people who tell me that so I have surveyed at this point over 600 nerd couples about how they met, where they met, if they started as friends, and most people can't believe that almost 70% started as just friends, right? And people tell me like, that's impossible. Like I've never met someone who started as friends, or like everyone I know did not start as friends. They catch with those things, or the same thing with like all women want someone who's 6 feet tall and makes 6 figures and whatnot, is you look for the patterns that you believe in. Yeah. And you will find proof. Now, the question is, what do you want to find proof for?
Yeah, exactly. It's such a common thing. I mean, there was the whole movie. There's a movie called The Number 23, which is it's an incredible movie with Jim Carrey. And it's all about that the fact that if you get so fixated on something, you will see it everywhere. Because your brain is automatically looking for it without you realizing. And it happens all the time. And yeah, it's so interesting that you think that that people don't know people that started out as friends first. So me and my husband started out as really good friends before we got together. And it's just such a natural way to have a relationship, is that you get that familiarity with somebody and then you feel comfortable in them and you feel more comfortable in yourself. And then just slowly like the intimacy builds and grows and then it can turn into something else. But yeah, you definitely see what you look for, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something that I have to fight against all the time, because I always get comments like, this is not how it works. And I'm like, look, I've surveyed hundreds of people, multiple countries. Show me your data. Like,
yeah, no, definitely. Oh.
So speaking of like dating, I have not experienced this, but I used to play like 20 years ago. I haven't played TTRPGs in a long time. What's up with the trope of flirting with your friends?
Oh, I'm terrible for this. I love it. I love romance in TTRPGs in general. So again, it's almost like that rehearsal element, and you're distanced from your character. So it's the same like why people can be a bit bolder online. It's like you don't feel like you have the consequences. So you feel a bit more free to just be eccentric and be a little bit flirty. And I mean, it's nice to feel that kind of like affection back. It's nice to feel like wanted, even if it's not you. And it's just fun. And I mean, it makes great stories if you have romance in D&D. It's at higher stakes, a whole other level of complication. So yeah, I love it, but you do have to be really careful with boundaries around it as well. Like you have to be really clear between your character's feelings and your feelings and make sure that that is communicated across the table as well. Never just jump into a big romance thing with one of your friends without clearing it first, because it can get really messy real quick.
How would you do that? How would you like talk about it first?
Well, I think there's kind of two different ways of going about it. I've actually gone through both. So one of them is like thinking if a romance story is something I want to tell, and I can see an avenue that would happen with one of the other characters, then I would just go and speak to that character like from the start, or the player even from the start, and be like, I'm thinking this would be a really cool thing for our characters to do. How do you feel about it? Like, are you comfortable with it? And have that conversation. And if it's not a 100% yes, it's a no. It's like, don't even try. And because it can get so muddy, going back to the like your brain differentiating between what's real and what's not real. So that's the best way to do it if you can identify it before anything starts in game. The other thing I've come across is when you start to play out a story and then you realize like partway down the line, it's like, oh, the way my character's reacting, like she's starting to have feelings, and okay, we need to do something about that. And then you again bring it up with the other character and be like, this is the way like my character is now, like these would be feelings going on. It's like, are you comfortable with it? And again, not 100% yes, it's a no. Like, just, it doesn't, like, you don't have to do it because your character would do it. It's one of those situations where it's like, it's what my character would do is not a viable excuse.
It's usually not in general.
Yeah, it's really not. It's like, yeah, I'm all for like being authentic to who your character is, but at the same time, you have to be aware about how your decisions affect everyone else at the table.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if it's not a clear 100% yes, then you're like, okay, I'm removing that element of my character. It's like, I'm just not even exploring that at all. But if both parties are on board and then everyone else at the table is like, are you happy with going down flirtation or romance storylines, then go for it, because it can add a lot of fun and a lot of drama.
Yeah. And like you were saying at the beginning, like trying out those skills in the game can then later translate to real life, or you can watch players flirt. Yeah.
And you can learn from that. And you can also learn what you like and don't like, and how you want to express your own affection or how you want to receive affection, like from doing that with different ways within the game. Again, just like trying on different identities or different styles, and just see what's like, oh, this made me actually feel really good, or it's like, oh, I didn't really relate to that so much. You might find you just love cheesy pickup lines, and who knew that? But it is having that distance from yourself while still having an element of yourself present. It's just a great way to kind of practice safely.
Yeah. I was talking to someone a while back, and we were exploring like how to like learn how to flirt and stuff. And one thing that came up was they were like, well, like I can start by giving compliments. And I was like, how about you start doing that at D&D? Like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you can either compliment the characters in game, and once you're comfortable, you can compliment the players.
Yeah, it's a really great way to do it, because that then progression from character to player is a really another kind of safe step before you go out into real world and strangers. It's like, you've done it in the characters, from your character, that's safe, and then you do it from yourself to other players, and you've been playing with these people and you've built trust with them, so you feel more safe doing that. And then when you've got all of that, your brain's got all of that as like an evidence base, you can go out and try and apply that to other people.
I like that you said evidence-based. What happens in the brain when like you do an action in the game, or maybe like with the other characters or the other players, and you see that either nothing happens or it's appreciated?
Is pretty huge, particularly if it's appreciated. So I say this a lot in my current series videos about how playing different elements of these characters, different types of characters that reflect yourself, and seeing that be accepted by a group and appreciated by a group, your brain kind of stacks that away as like, this is good or this is okay. And it just builds your confidence up as it's like, it's so slow and it's so subtle, but yeah, just feeling like I can be myself. And that's why you see like so many stories about trans people discovering themselves and coming out through D&D. And I love hearing those stories because they start to feel safe to like express themselves, like playing a gender fluid character or a character of a different gender to their biological sex. And yeah, and then seeing them get comfortable with that and it being accepted by the party and then by the table, and then they like feel confident enough to actually be their true selves. And yeah, you just see it a lot, and it makes me so happy to see that other people are experiencing this.
You know, I have a previous client. I have an episode with him in case people want to watch it. His name is Murnau, and he didn't want to say that he was a nerd in case someone thought he was an incel. And once he started going out and seeing that people accepted him, how he was, it's so interesting because like it only took a couple months and that was it. And then he was going out like 3-4 times a week and he was happy about it and not being tired. Like he's an introvert, right? But he found his group and he learned that he was accepted and he was fine the way he is. Yeah.
So one of the core things that your brain needs is the sense of belonging. It's really important as like a fundamental need for survival is to feel like you belong. And when you are being yourself truly and feel that sense of belonging, then it takes so much of what your brain wants that it will just like accelerate your bonding and your confidence, because the lessons it really wants to learn is that you can be yourself, which is why people always give that advice of be yourself, which is the hardest advice in the world to follow. Yes. Particularly as somebody that's neurodivergent and has spent my life masking. I was like, well, I don't know what that even means. But D&D helped me find it out. So yeah, when you have that, you feel like you're yourself, you feel like you're around people that get you and that you can trust. And then you feel like you're part of a group and somewhere that you belong. And it's massive. It's massive for your self-confidence, for your mental health. It's a really important thing. And it happens quick. I remember when I first started playing D&D, I was so scared to mention it to anybody. And now, I've said I bring it up on job interviews. It's like I just mention it to anybody, like the first time they have a chat with me, or they're like, oh, well, like, what things are you into? It's like, oh yeah, I play D&D. It's like, yeah, I go to Comic-Con. I do cosplay. Like this, like this. I'm a nerd. Yeah, it's like I am a nerd. I am proud of it. Like nerds are cool nowadays. Nerd is cool. It's just cool to be who you are, and I think that is what everyone is slowly starting to discover. And there are so many people that you wouldn't have even thought were like into nerdy things, and they just are. I cannot remember his name now.
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill. Yeah, looking at Henry Cavill, you would never think he was like a Warhammer nerd. But Vin Diesel played D&D. So all these like big names and these big guys that you wouldn't necessarily think of being into all of this kind of nerdy stuff, they're really nerdy. It's like just be yourself, because you'll find your people and then you'll feel so much better.
Yeah, it's funny. So when I first started, I was interviewing couples about how they started dating their partner, and I was like, oh, what tips do you have? And everyone was like, to be yourself, be yourself, be yourself. And I was like, I hate that advice, so I stopped asking that question. I made videos ranting about it. And then after a while, I was like, okay, what do I hate about it? Like you're saying, like, what does it mean?
Yeah.
And how do you be yourself? So I got to the conclusion of like, okay, be your true self, which means be comfortable with who you are. Now, I find it really interesting that you talked about finding out who you really are, finding out like your true self through D&D, which is technically through being something you're not. Yeah. So how does that work?
It lets you play with different parts of yourself. So I say all of my characters are like a different part of me. And they're different stories that I want to tell, and they're different aspects of myself that I want to try on. Or it's something that's completely the opposite of me, just to know how that feels, just in case that is something that's like, actually, no, you know what? This feels good to be this. So maybe there is a part of that. Fails catastrophically every time I try and play someone high charisma, because I am just not that. I am an awkward ADHD girly, and I will be till I die. But yeah, they're like, if I lean into the chaos and the awkwardness of somebody, or I lean into like something that's dealing with my past trauma in a way that is like safe to do at the table. We joke about D&D being therapy all the time, but your table is not qualified to be a therapist. It's like
there is D&D therapy, but not all D&D is therapy.
100%. That is very good to remember. Because I see it all the time. People saying like D&D is my therapy. It's like, it can help, and it's like, and if you have a licensed D&D therapist, that is fantastic. But therapy is very different. But you can still work through stuff through the stories that you tell, and just see like how things feel and how it feels to like kind of address something that's similar to something you went through. So yeah, through all of that kind of helped me discover it's like, this is who I am. It's like, I am quirky and sometimes impulsive, and will ramble off on something just because I found it pretty interesting in a moment. And yeah, it's like, I do have these demons in my past, but I can deal with them and I can get past them, and I can rely on other people to support me to do that. And then even to the point of like, these are the things I value. It's like, I can really value friendship and trust and honesty and loyalty. And it's all stuff that I've discovered through the game, through being able to play with those kind of themes.
Yeah. It's funny, now that you were talking, I was remembering that, I mean, I have talked in my own actual therapy, not D&D therapy, my actual therapy, I have talked about how I look for, one of the things I look for in people to find them interesting is sort of like a dichotomy, right? Or like contraposing characteristics.
Yeah.
And I mean, we joke around with my parents because they contradict themselves in unison when you ask them a question. And that's how I grew up.
Amazing.
Like, you ask them something, one says yes, one says no at the same time. And then I'm here like, okay, that was all my life. And I was like, okay, like that's part of why I look for that in people in general. And as you were talking, I was like, well, that's actually been all of my TTRPG characters pretty much. I mean, if I don't know the mechanics, I'll just play like a brute and I'll hit everything. Great. But once I get a bit more comfortable, I'll choose something that's A, probably funny, and B, something not normal. Like, I played D&D for the first time like a few years ago. I have played Vampire Masquerade and I have played Werewolf, but not D&D. Also Lord of the Rings. But I played something like a druid gnome.
Nice.
Which is like, is like a character who was born like or raised in the mountains inside like caves, but being a druid in like nature, right? And like, I need that sort of contradicting
something unexpected.
Stuff.
Yeah, something that's like, you got to dive into like the why. How did this happen? Like, how did a gnome become a druid? Like, I mean, I love stories like that. Yeah,
or like I was playing vampire and I was playing like a character that looked like a 8-10-year-old who had lots of points in, I don't know what it was called, but basically it was the head of a clan.
Yeah.
Right. But it was like a child and nobody in the table knew that until we got to like the sort of like the home base of my clan. And I went and I sat on sort of like the throne and everyone was like, what the hell is going on? I'm like, well,
that's so good.
This is my people.
I love that. No, I always love it when people throw something unexpected out there. And
that's something about my personality, what I look for in other people and what I grew up with, that now that we're having this conversation, I realize I'm like, right, that's why I choose these type of characters.
Yeah, and there's this whole concept that I've kind of kicked off these species videos that I'm doing that's about idealized self. And you like see it through, it's not just D&D, but any game where you play an avatar, people tend to subconsciously project an idealized version of themselves, whatever that means to them. Like the traits that they admire in other people will kind of like be put into that avatar or that character that they're creating, which I find really interesting.
Yeah, something that I often talk about, and maybe you know why this is. Like I haven't actually researched it. I find that if you go to an activity, no matter how many times you go, you don't really bond with the people unless you take them out of the activity and do something else.
Yeah, that is a good point, actually. They end up just being like associated with that activity.
Yeah.
I think in D&D it's different. At least my experience has been different. But I think it's because of the kind of experiences you go through, which makes it sound like you're doing some really traumatic stuff. But that again
Sometimes
goes back to the whole, it goes back to like your brain struggling to differentiate between what is the game and what is real, and reacting in the same way is that you're going through these intense situations with your characters, and so your characters start to bond in the party because they've like had a really intense situation and they've had to navigate it all together. Like they're like about to fight a dragon, they have to come up with a big plan, and then it's like they're super dangerous and they make it out the other side and they're like, we can rely on each other, and then that starts to translate into real life as well. I think or the majority of my closest friendships are all from D&D, and I think it was Start Playing actually did a survey recently of about 1,000 people asking questions about like you discovered your friendships through D&D and like how many people have like developed romances and relationships through D&D, and the figures are really high. Like the number of people that they're playing D&D with people became their like lifelong friends, and I think it was like half the people that responded said that in-game relationships had like transferred and become real life relationships. And so, I think it's a really unique environment where actually playing the game together does bring you together, whether you're like outside of just being around the table. But I think in most hobbies and most situations, everyone's just fixated on what you're doing rather than each other.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the bond like being stronger in like both between the characters and between the players. And yet, I remember I had an episode a while back talking with someone about like making friends through D&D, right? And his name is Sean, and Sean mentioned that only once he was invited to hang out, and I think that he said they were gonna watch The Mummy, like the Brendan Fraser movie from like back in the day.
Great movie.
And and he was like, we watched this whole movie, we like made jokes throughout the movie, and we were not playing D&D, and that's when I realized that these were my friends.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I think I can totally see that with the realization as well. Like we had our first group outing that our table went on that was away from D&D was like, oh yeah, we are like feel like we've known each other for years. But when we're outside of that situation, that's kind of when it clicks in. That's like, oh yeah, no, this is that. But I think if you leave time either side of the game as well, so it's like before the game, just have a chat with the people, and after the game, after the game, it's like so important to have a decompression session together, and you just like you can chat about what happened in the game and just chat about your lives as well. And then I think that helps that barrier of it being like we're together in this situation, but we're not outside. Because I mean, D&D for a lot of people is like a weekly commitment already. So doing stuff on top of that can always be a lot. So just make sure you spend that time to actually get to know each other as well, and have those chats and have that realization. It's like, no, we're actually real friends outside of our party as well.
Yeah, I think that's one of the benefits with D&D is that you can actually talk before and after as well a bit. Awesome. What tips do you have for someone who's like shy and introverted and they want to use TTRPGs to improve their social or daily life? Like just things that are like focus on this and that.
Just do it. Is really unhelpful advice, I'm aware, to people that are very shy and introverted.
And be yourself and put yourself out there.
Yeah, done. All of those cliches.
Yes.
No, I mean, I used to be the shyest person in the world. I would never like sign up to do anything. I was always too scared. And I have like anxiety as well. So I totally get how that feels. Starting with a one-shot situation is really a good idea. If you have some friends that you already know that might want to play some games, like if they're not gamers already, or like you don't know if they're into it, like maybe suggest some board games, or there are like really easy to get into little TTRPGs, things like Honey Heist is a great one where you can literally like make it up on the day and you like roll to be a different kind of bear and you roll for a hat for the bear. It's ridiculous and it is fun and you can just jump into it. And that's a great way to kind of like get a game going. Or some people I've worked with previously start playing who are an online company. Then they host a bunch of professional DMs and online games, and you can go and you can filter games for like new players or learn to play, and that's a really interesting way to find it. But so yeah, if you can find a game, start with some kind of one shot or a different simple game that you might want to try out, and don't feel like you just have to go full in, but try and play a character that is maybe like one step removed in terms of confidence from you. So if you're really shy, try to go a little bit outside of your comfort zone. It's like play somebody that is maybe they're still reserved, but there's a certain situation where they are going to be likely to stand up. Like if one of their friends is being threatened, they would stand up to defend them. So yeah, don't
like an Aragorn, quiet like Aragorn. Strider.
100%. Be quiet, be stoic, but when that situation happens, like just try it. Like just try to see how it feels to step outside of your comfort zone. And you don't have to do it all at once, but just try little bits at a time. And I think you will see a big difference.
I love it. Charli, where can they find you?
On TikTok and Instagram at DnD Charli. I think Instagram is at DnD Charli as a one word, and TikTok is at DnD_Charli, just to be super confusing. But yeah, I post on there about 3 times a week at the minute. I'm trying to get a little bit more frequently, but I'm on there far too much, just kind of lurking in the background and responding to comments. So yeah, you can find me on there.
Awesome. And everyone watching and listening, if you have any questions, any comments, just send me a DM at deadlikeanerd anywhere, or an email at dm@deadlikeanerd.com. And if you have any questions for Charli or past or future guests, maybe she can come back and we can keep chatting. Take care and date like a nerd. It's easier.
Looking for a player too? I've interviewed hundreds of nerds and learned what really works. Download your data-backed guide with real stories, actionable tips, and a step-by-step system for finding love the nerd way at datelikeanerd.com/reality.